Last night, I switched on Netflix and it showed up a name I had forgotten long ago. Of course, there was no way I was not going to watch this one. Yes, I watched the new Netflix documentary on Elizabeth Smart, and I didn't expect it to affect me the way it did. When this happened, I wasn't watching it from India. I was living in the United States at that time in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And this case wasn't just another crime story you heard about once and forgot. It was everywhere. On television, on the radio, in conversations. Her name became familiar to an entire nation. I remember how the news channels covered it relentlessly. Every update felt urgent. Every day without news felt heavy. And what stayed with me most from that time was the collective hope. People prayed for her return. Strangers prayed. Communities prayed. And alongside that hope, there was fear. The kind people didn't always say out loud. Fear for our own children. Fear that something so unthinkable could happen inside a family home in the middle of the night without warning. That period in my life was also when I first discovered true crime novels. I hadn't grown up reading them, and suddenly I was exposed to case after case, missing children, abducted women, investigations that went nowhere. What shocked me most was how often those stories didn't end with rescue. In so many cases, the missing never came back. So, when Elizabeth Smart disappeared, it felt terrifyingly possible that she might be another name added to that list. Hello, I'm Shubhra Krishan, and you're watching Twisted. When she was finally found, it felt like a miracle. The kind you don't let yourself fully believe in until it actually happens. Watching this documentary now, years later, brought all of that rushing back. But it also showed me how much I never really knew. Seeing Elizabeth herself speak is deeply affecting. She isn't dramatic. She isn't seeking sympathy. She speaks with clarity, intention, and an almost startling calm. This isn't someone being forced to relive her trauma. This is someone who has chosen to tell her story on her own terms. I didn't know Elizabeth had so many siblings. I didn't realize how close-knit her family was. I didn't fully grasp how much love she had waiting for her when she came home. There's something incredibly moving about that after everything she endured, she returned to a family that wrapped around her, held her up, and helped her rebuild her life. Some parts of this documentary are genuinely disturbing. Seeing her kidnappers again is unsettling in a way that doesn't fade with time. Their presence on screen reminds you of how close evil can live to ordinary life. And then there are the interviews with her family, especially her father and her uncle. Listening to them talk about those months of not knowing is heartbreaking. You can hear the pain in their voices, the waiting, the helplessness, the endless questions. What makes it even more devastating is learning that at one point her own father was considered a prime suspect. The cruelty of that, losing your child and then having suspicion turned on you, is almost impossible to comprehend. But the hardest moments in this film come when Elizabeth talks about her captivity. I'll be honest, I had no idea she had endured so much. One moment that stopped me cold was when she spoke about how innocent she was when she was taken. So innocent that she believed rolling over onto her stomach would protect her from being molested. That thought stays with you, the vulnerability of it, the childlike logic of a girl trying to survive something she couldn't possibly understand. The documentary also reveals how many times she came heartbreakingly close to being found, how often she was out in public, how many missed chances there were, and yet she couldn't scream, she couldn't ask for help. Understanding why is devastating. The fear, the control, the psychological prison she was trapped in, the knowledge that even in public, surrounded by people, she felt safer staying silent than risking the consequences of speaking out. That tells you everything about the depth of her trauma. And yet, this film doesn't leave you broken, because Elizabeth Smart today is not defined by what was done to her. She's living a full life. She has a husband. She has 3 children of her own. And more than that, she has taken her experience and turned it into a cause. She speaks for survivors. She advocates. She challenges the shame that society so often places on victims instead of perpetrators. There's something profoundly powerful about watching someone reclaim their narrative this way, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with purpose. From a filmmaker's perspective, this documentary gets something very right. It isn't unnecessarily stretched. It doesn't sensationalize pain. It maintains the right amount of suspense without exploiting trauma. It trusts the story and it trusts the viewer. By the time it ends, you feel deeply sad for what Elizabeth endured, but you also feel uplifted by who she has become. It manages to sadden you and gladden you in equal measure. If you remember this case from that time, the way I do, this documentary will hit hard. It will bring back memories of hope, fear, and the relief of a miracle realized. And if you're watching the story for the first time, it will stay with you because it forces you to confront uncomfortable truths about trauma, silence, and survival. Some stories don't fade with time. They wait quietly until you're really ready to listen. This is one of them.